sort of in reply to a few emails I had and a couple of basic questions, and I thought I'd just put them on video to just let people know sort of my from my point of view and this side of the world, how some of these wee queries might be answered. So we're just in the shack on a Sunday afternoon, nice and quiet. Not much on the radio during the day. There's a contest on. Contests in this shack normally means QRT. I'm not a big fan of contests and all the QRM. But I had a couple of basic questions from a couple of radio guys, and so I'm just going to nip through them quite quickly. And I say this is only my personal view and a personal opinion from what I perceive these questions to be answered. So one of the question was regard somebody that was using a dipole and in the UK, and they weren't on 20 meters. The dipole was, and they were getting some fairly decent success with it, but mainly just around the UK and Europe. Only now and again did they get some what I call long distance. I've been in England and lived and been on the radio for many years, and worked, all of Europe and things like that. And these days, I normally try to work stations that are 10,000 miles or more away from me. What I was looking at was just to see, because I use vertical antennas. I always find they work far better for me, and they'll give me daily contacts at 10,000 miles and plus. If obviously, if people want to use other antennas to work, within the UK and Europe all the time, that's fair enough. Everybody has their own enjoyment on the radio. I've got to a point in life where, excuse me, where 10,000 miles or and plus is my wee goal these days. And so anyway, what I did basically, I just started to look at the dipole and versus the vertical, just in a very simple way. And I haven't used any calculators here or computer generated equations or all these things. It's just I've found, being on the air and using these things practically, what happens. So I did a wee test. Just very basic, very quickly, and I made some brief sketches just to explain as I go along. Nothing technical in this shack. It's not rocket science. It's just out in the garden with some bits of wires, and these are the results I found. So just down here, what I did first of all, I put up a 20 meter dipole in the garden. Excuse me. I put up a 20 meter dipole in the garden, and it was 8 meters. I think about 8 meters above the ground, about the same height as the guy in England who sent me the question to, and I did some 20 meter low power whisper tests. And then, so obviously, as everybody knows, the dipole is 5 meters one side, 5 meters the other side, and normally the feed line would come off the middle. And the results that I got from my whisper tests, with just very low power, it was during the day, late in the afternoon, was looking like something like this. So it just turn that other light away, so you can see where I was here and we're getting some spots up to the top of the New Zealand and just to the east coast of Australia. So then, to convert the dipole to a vertical of sorts, all I did was I took this feed point here and I placed that down on the ground. So we're still using the same two elements we are on the dipole. So we place this feed point down on the ground here, and we took one side of the dipole up into the vertical position, and we took the other side of the dipole along the ground as a radial, basically just one radial. And then we did the same test on Whisper, not too long after the first one, and I just go back up here to the results, and you can see now we've still got the same contacts just to the top of New Zealand and a couple more on the east coast, but we also have another one which is roughly about another 1,300 miles away. So basically, as I say, we just took the dipole and just took the feed point down to the ground and took one side into a vertical position. It was just up to a tree, only 5 meters tall, and we took the other side of the dipole along the ground to a radial, as in sense, and that was the difference. The difference in the dipole to the vertical, and this is in my situation. I always find that verticals will give me that extra distance. Low angle radiation compared to a dipole, unless you can get it really high. So in this case, the difference between the two, the vertical with only one radial, it gave me about 1,300 miles more than the dipole. So I got from the eastern side of Australia with the first spot with the dipole, and then the second spot on the vertical, which was the same antenna, just configured into this shape, and that gave me an extra 1,300 miles with the vertical instead of the dipole. And this, as I say, is only with one of the dipole elements orientated along the ground as a radial. And as a lot of us know, a vertical would normally require about 16 quarter wave radials on the bottom here, about 16 radials coming off in various directions, or you can put 32. You can halve the quarter wave radials into 32 and put them into a much smaller area, just about 2 to 3 meters diameter. And as I found in the past, and some of my previous videos show, some of the radials can be in the bushes, in a hedge, along the side of a shed, anywhere you can actually put them. They don't have to be absolutely perfectly symmetrical around the garden or whatever, But that's just to basically show you that the basic difference between a dipole in my situation and the dipole configured into a vertical give me, as I say, 1,300 miles extra. And if you were to add the other radials, more radials, you'd find that would increase quite rapidly. And at the moment, my 20 meter vertical and my 40 meter vertical have a number of radials on them, and I get contacts 10,000 miles and more every day. So that's just the basic idea of the question was from my friend, what's the difference between a basic dipole and a vertical? And there it is right on the screen with the results. And you can see in my QRZ logbook the QSOs I have every day, and some of them a lower power recently, using the QCX with 2 watts. Managed to work into Sweden on the vertical, and at the same time I did try the dipole, and I was not heard at all until I increased the power quite a lot. So that's one of the questions I got. I'm just trying to make this video quite short. So the other question got, just turn the camera back around here. I'm just reading these off a wee bit of a note I got here. The other question I got was, I'm normally 90% CW, 99% CW probably, and people were saying, why do you prefer CW to sideband? I mean, obviously it's everybody's preference to what mode they want to use. And when I first started out in radio, somebody said to me, do you do CW or sideband? And I said, well, this was an old G3 guy, and I said, why? He said, well, I'll just let you know. He said that, and this is the way he explained CW to me and sideband. He said, especially if you're using QRP, if you go on the radio, he said, and using sideband or CW, it's a bit like being in the street or somewhere, and you see one of your mates and you try to shout him, and sometimes it just doesn't quite hear you. If you give him a shout across a park or a beach or whatever, but if you then whistle at him, 9 times out of 10 he'll actually hear you straight away. And it's always sort of stuck in my head that was the same with sideband. I quite often go on sideband and not quite get heard, or it's not that easy. And yet, if I switch over to CW and try calling the same person, quite often I get through straight away. So that's sort of my very basic analogy of CW and sideband, especially with QRP. The sideband might not quite get through, but more times out of none the CW would. The other question I get asked is what band? We've got a lot of bands to go on. When we decide to go on the radio, like myself, I normally only have about 1 or 2 hours to go on the radio, due to various reasons. What's the best band and the best time to go on the radio? Well, in my experience, what I do, out of the shack, what I do when I go on the radio, obviously we can all flick through all the bands to see what activity there is, or we can check the various propagations and all this. But just as a quick indicator, what I do when I switch on the radio on an evening, I just go straight through to the FT8 frequencies on each of the bands, and I just go through, and it's quite obvious straight away which bands have got some FT8 signals on there and which bands are completely dead. So that narrows it down quite quickly to I won't use whatever bands because there's no activity. I'll try the bands that have got some FT8 activity on there, and especially the bands that have got a lot of signals that are coming in. I'll go on to them bands straight away and put out a CQ and give it a try. Normally here at this time of the year, 40 and 20 meters are normally wide open for me, and just getting to the point where 80 meters is starting to give me some contacts on CW into the UK as well. And obviously the other thing that I do, I always look at the grey line. I always wait till the grey line is getting fairly close to me, and so we got. I don't know if I can make this a bit large here. So we've got New Zealand down here. So on an evening, when the grey line just starts to reach the top of New Zealand, this would be the time that I would be starting to turn the radio on. And on the opposite side of the world, that sort of corresponds with it's daylight in Europe, and the grey line's just about to hit the United Kingdom. So that would give me the grey line would always give me an advantage on trying to get contacts into the UK. And there's no big antennas here. I don't have any big towers and beams. Just basic vertical antennas. I don't have any big amplifiers, kilowatt, 400 watt, amplifiers. The most power run is about 200 watts. I've always used, and I've always been leaned towards using, first of all, as I say, vertical antennas, which will give you low angle and a longer distance. And I use resonant antennas. I'm not a great fan of multi-band antennas with transformers or unans and various things like this. I was always brought up to keep it very simple. The less things that were between the radio and the antenna, the less losses, especially if you're using QRP and trying to get round the world and that. And it seems to work for me. So that's just some basic things in response to questions that I got here. Whether they work for you, I don't know, but they've worked for me for 38 years, and I get a lot of fun out of it. And using basic antennas, especially in construction, a vertical antenna, you only need one mast. Dipoles, you need two masts, or beams, you need a tower, etc. And I just think the less power you use, if possible, the less interference in QRM on the bands for everybody else. Over the years, being on the radio. And I just like to keep things fairly simple, straightforward, get on the air, have some QSOs, and meet people and have fun. That's what it's all about. That's what I got the license for anyway, just to get on the air and meet other people around the world and have some fun. And so far, 38 years later, 71 years old. People might say I look a lot older, but I feel a lot younger. That's what I tell myself anyway. There's a wee insight to what happens on this side of the world. I hope you're here on the band. I'm normally on 40 or 20 every evening on Grey Line. If you hear me, send me an email, or if you want a sked, just send me an email and I'll look out for you. There won't be a problem there. Okay. I'm off to get my Sunday roast and enjoy a relaxing afternoon, and then hopefully get on the radio later when the Grey Line gets here. All the best, 73s. Thanks for watching. And got any comments, good or bad? I don't mind. I can take them all. I'm a big guy now. Enjoy the radio and get on the air, and I hope to work you sometime in the future. Anyway. This is Brian, ZL3XDJ in the South Island of New Zealand. All the best to you all, and enjoy this fantastic hobby we've got. Bye for now.